Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Mars-Uranus conjunction that's happening in the sign of Taurus on July 15th, 2024. Now, Mars and Uranus will also be conjuncting the fixed star Algol. So let's talk about what this means for us. Now, Mars in Taurus is not the most favorite placement of Mars. If we think about what Mars represents, being action-oriented, passion, having these bursts of energy, cutting, it does rule sharp instruments and surgery, ambition, invigorating, anger, fearlessness, willful. And we think about what Venus, the ruler of Taurus, represents, which is peace, stability, our values, harmony, love, relationships. There's an inherent sort of mismatch there. And so Mars generally, when it's in Taurus, I don't think it's a bad placement. I just think that Mars doesn't get to be who Mars wants to be in Taurus. But on the flip side of that, what we get when we put Mars in this more stubborn sign, this fixed earth sign, is that we get, instead of these bursts of wanting to do something or, explosive moments, we get a more even-keeledness to that and a more consistent feel to that. And I think that's important to recognize, because if we look at just Mars-Uranus, there's certain indications that happen, and then you bring in Algol as well, there's certain themes that we see, these certain patterns and archetypes that we see when these two planets come together. And I think it's important to add the element of what sign it's in, because obviously if this was happening in Aries, I would feel much differently about the situation than I would that it's in a fixed earth sign like Taurus. So what I think this does, I don't know if it dampens the Mars-Uranus Algol conjunction, but what I think it does is it may make it a little bit more of a drawn out circumstance. Well, let's talk about why I'm saying this, because we talked about what Mars represents. Let's talk about what Uranus represents. Uranus is revolution, liberation, innovation. It's authenticity. It's electricity. There's a sense of suddenness to it, and it represents freedom. So when Mars and Uranus come together, there's this urge for freedom, this really big urge for freedom. There could be a building pressure to express our individuality or our sense of will, our own willpower. There could be sudden breakthroughs. There can be reckless willpower leading to impulsive action. There can also be a sense of cutting something out of our lives that was maybe unexpected, or that we've been wanting to do, but we couldn't really get the courage, the willpower to do it. And suddenly something comes up that allows us to do that. Now, when we talk about the star of Algol, it's interesting because Algol sits at 26 degrees of Taurus, and it's kind of similar to everything I've already talked about. There's an intensity to Algol. It's a protective star. It deals with transformation, sudden changes. There can be a sense of like chaos or violence associated to it. It does also have a cutting feel because of its relation to Medusa and that myth. So there is a sense of losing our head or losing our cool, which seems very Mars to me. There's a regenerative and creative, almost like a bringing art out of chaos feel to this. A lot of artists have Algol prominent in their chart. There can be cutting things out, dramatic reversals. So see, like it very much feels like it's just adding to what's already happening with Mars and Uranus. With Algol, Diana Rosenberg says Algol, like other stars, confers tasks upon us, which, if comprehended and accepted, offer great rewards of power and creativity. These stellar challenges are not meant to be feared, but understood and used in a positive manner. And I would really say this about any malefic planet or malefic transits, Mars being a malefic, Algol definitely being considered a malefic. It's not that they're bad. It's just that the way in which they urge evolution tends to feel more intense or difficult. And yet in the same vein, because of that, they tend to lead to more transformation and changes in our lives and growth and evolution, because oftentimes with the easier planets, we don't feel that push. We don't feel that necessity to move something. Whereas with the malefics, it makes it very clear that something has to change. And like I said before, this is happening in a fixed earth sign. So there is a sense that this area of our chart is inherently more difficult to change. It's more stubborn. It wants that stability. And so, because we have algol here, that's the only reason why I think for some of us, it may come through this transformation. Everything that we talked about with Mars-Uranus may come through in a more dramatic or intense way or sudden event because of algol sitting right with Mars and Uranus. There is maybe a more elevated tendency for an event to occur to make us have to change something, rather than what I would normally feel with Mars-Uranus in Taurus would be that it's more of it's almost like a kick in the ass for you, like for you to be like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. Like I've reached a point of like no return. I literally can't keep doing this. The amount of energy that I'm inputting into the situation is not equal to what I feel like I'm getting from the situation. And so I need to break free from this in some way. But because of algol here, I feel like there is a more dramatic tone to it. So if you have any fixed points or planets around 26 degrees of Taurus, so Taurus, Leo, Aquarius, and Scorpio, especially Taurus, this may play out a little bit more dramatic, intense, or sudden for you. But if we can keep in mind that the changes that are happening are very necessary to our growth and evolution, and it may be something that we've been wanting to do but not taking action towards it. And because all those fixed points of placements have a tendency to kind of be stuck in something, then maybe that's why they're going to experience this as more dramatic, because they have been at a kind of like a stalemate for a long time. And so now, because we ourselves haven't been moving towards this purposeful, aligned, authentic change in our lives, then externally, something's going to come in to precipitate that or to almost force the situation. And in some ways, we may experience that as a karmic reckoning. And it may be, and it may also be the fact that we just haven't been taking action ourselves. And so something is almost forcing us now to do it. So what can we do in preparation for this? Think about where Taurus is in your chart. That part of your chart, have you been in a stalemate in this part of your life? Has there been like a lack of decision making, almost like you have a choice to make, but you feel like you don't have enough answers, you don't have enough predictability because it's in Taurus and it wants stability to make a change, but you're also feeling unhappy in the situation. And you're feeling like, well, I don't want to change because I'm scared of what the unknown is, but then I can't stay here anymore because I hate this known. This known sucks, but I fear this unknown. And so, there's a tendency to want to just go past the unknown and go into a new known that is better. And it's just like, that's not how it generally works. Like it's like, yeah, ideally, it'd be really cool to go from a place of stability here that we're not happy with straight to a place of stability somewhere else where we think we'll be more happier. But that change, that transformation in the middle of that is necessary. And that destructive force is necessary for this new rebirth in which then we can find stability in. And so this is just life, like it's just a pattern of this happening again and again. But I feel like for a lot of us, this part of our chart with Uranus in there since 2018. And then we've had all these activations since April of this year with all the personal planets going through Uranus, except for Mars, which is now doing. And then Jupiter-Uranus conjunction starting that new 14-year cycle. So all of these things have been activating. It's kind of like the 20 to 26 degree mark of Taurus in our chart. And it's like, hello. And I think it's telling that Mars is the last one of the personal planets to activate this point, because Mars is really that kick in the butt that some of us need. Like that urge to express something, the urge to use our willpower, to put ourselves out there and to break free from something, because this is Uranus. And so this Uranus in Taurus is coming to an end by next July. And so this is really a potent time for us to enforce change in our lives. And so I don't know if I got to this, but what I was trying to get to at some point during that spiel was that if we are not taking meaningful action towards change, when we can feel that it's necessary, then we will often experience that outside of us. And so if we can work towards change, even in small ways, I think it can lessen the impact a little bit, right? Because the thing with forecasts and horoscopes is that it's kind of like a weather report, right? There is inherently a sense of unpredictability there, because we're dealing with forces that are outside of the logical mind and our control. And that's kind of, in my opinion, the beauty of forecasts and horoscopes is like, we're not predicting what happens. We're saying, hey, this is the general air. And for me, it's like using tarot is a beautiful way to do this too. It's like, how can we say, hey, these are the energies, and maybe these are some, and especially with the tarot, these are some things that maybe but even astrology too. It's like, these are some things that you may not be conscious about, and someone who is well versed in them can bring them to light, and it may trigger something internally from your unconscious to say, oh man, no, this is true. Like, I really do need to do this. And if it wasn't for the weather report or the tarot card or, astrology, maybe you wouldn't have, that part of you might have stayed unconscious. So it's really just trying to examine what the weather looks like astrologically, and then saying, hey, what do I want to do about this? How can I use that energy in a way that's constructive, and then surrender to the rest of it, because there's only so much that I can do. But in my opinion, it's like when we work with the energies and we say, okay, Mars Uranus, this is sudden change, exerting our willpower, expressing individuality, this urge for freedom, breaking out of a cage is what it feels like, sudden breakthroughs. How can I implement that so that the gap between where Mars and Uranus needs to fill isn't as much, and so it may not be as dramatic? Now, once again, it's like we have to go into that with this understanding that we do not control things, right? We cannot control everything that happens in life. We can only control our reaction to that. And because of our natural predispositions, as our chart shows, we have a tendency to go towards one way, but we don't have to go that way. So that's really all we can do, is just focus on ourselves and how we want to experience what's happening around us. So if we go into this situation like with that mind frame and say, okay, I understand that I'm not trying to control this, but I do want to work with the energy. And so how can I make even a small movement towards the change that I know needs to occur, but I'm still scared? How can I move towards that? And I think that will, at the very least, help us move towards something that's more aligned. And at the greatest, help lessen the impact of what Mars-Uranus algo want to bring to our lives. So it may not feel so sudden, but that may not be true. Like I said, there's an unpredictability about it, and that's the beauty of life. If I were to just fortune tell, that's not fun. I don't want to do that. Like, there is such a beauty in experiencing the unknown, right? And I think that if we can tap into that energy, it's just that when Taurus comes in the picture, it's wanting to experience the unknown in safe ways, in predictable ways. And so what that can look like is it takes a long time to make a decision because there is a, we need to get comfortable here first before we can change a little bit more. Okay, now we got to get settled in here and then we can move towards it more. And so I love that about, Taurus, and I've got Mercury in Taurus, and I'm a Vedic Taurus, Rohini sun. So, I love that Taurian energy, and yet something is saying it's taking a really long time. Like, what are you waiting for? What's going on? And it feels like there's been, like I said, a stalemate for a while in this part of our chart. And so there comes a point when we have to just recognize that a decision has to be made. And it doesn't have to be the ultimate, the big decision, right? Like, so it can be a movement towards that decision, but a decision has to be made. Like sitting in this state of flux of like, should I do this or should I do that? Well, I need more information. I don't have enough information. In this part of our chart is getting, is not really working anymore. You're feeling the pressure, with this conjunction coming about in just a few days. By the time this video goes up, you're feeling this. And so, yeah, moving towards that energy, I think will be beautiful. One thing I do want to say about this is that there is a sense of, when I see all these planets and the fixed star come together, anytime really Mars, more malefic or like more intense Mars transits come about, there is this tendency for like accidents. We want to, like I said, move with the energy, right? So I don't want to just like sit in stillness and not do anything out of fear. Now, number one, that's just never healthy, in my opinion. You don't really ever get a great outcome when we're doing things out of fear. But, take it easy around those days. And I think the best use of this is to have mindful movement. So whether that is yoga, and we can hurt ourselves doing yoga. I can hurt myself sitting right here. The keyword is mindful. Mindful yoga, mindful walking, mindful dancing, mindful anything. If you want to even do anything that's a little bit that, you normally say don't do, like rock climbing. It's like just being really aware of staying grounded and taking that Taurian energy in order for us to feel into the present moment as always, but especially around this transit, because there is this like impulsive or like reckless energy that can come. Like I said, especially with algol, like losing your head, losing your cool, is very much indicated in these types of transits. And so the more that we can come back down to the present moment and ground and just be mindful of what we're doing, I think that everything's gonna be great. And like I said, because there is a lot of physical energy, Mars is very physical. I don't think it's a day that you should just like stop all activity, just bring some more mindfulness to that. But this is an intense transit. And I think it's really building upon, like I said, this Uranus being in Taurus is also not Uranus's favorite place to be, because Uranus is about change and liberation and revolution and innovation, and Taurus is very much about keeping the peace, keeping the stability, keeping things the same, knowing what's happening. And so Uranus has really been trying to mix things up in this part of your chart. And with the Jupiter and Uranus conjunction that happened in April of this year and started this new 14-year transit, or this process that's occurring, I think this Mars and Uranus transit is going to be really picking up on that and picking up the pace a little bit. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this plays out. I can already feel the energy building. I have for a few days now, and so this will be super fun to watch. Let me know how that resonates for you guys down below. And we'll be definitely feeling it by probably the 11th, 12th, and still be feeling it for the days after as well. But I do think that it is going to be something that is precipitating a change that may take longer to come into form. So even though we may not feel the energy, it's the start of something. It's the initiation. Mars is an initiating planet. It's the initiation of something that is really needing to change in our lives. All right, so without further ado, we're going to get into the all signs portion of this. Now, I'm feeling quite allergied today, so this is going to be a little bit shorter, but I just want to go through the parts of your chart that are going to be affected by this, depending on your sun, rising, maybe even your moon, and also pull some tarot cards or a tarot card just to see if there's any additional information that we may be missing or is not being made conscious as I'm talking through everything. So, all right, so let's start with Aries. Aries, sun and rising. This is happening in your second house. So this is regarding your money, your work, your self-value, your values in life, your self-worth, your income. It's happening regarding your material possessions. So when I see Mars-Uranus conjunction there, it's telling me that there is a desire to break free from something or to cut something out, to liberate yourself from something regarding those things in your life that you feel like is no longer working in the same paradigm as you. And like I said in the beginning of this video, this very much feels like this is something that's been wanting to change for a really long time. And yet there hasn't been as much progress as maybe you'd like. And so Mars and Uranus gives us an opportunity to utilize this energy as sort of like a kick in the butt, to move towards change, to make those small changes and be more open to the unknown, even if those ways are small. And so this could look like, cutting out a source of income is no longer working for you. This could look like, deciding that the way that you are relating to your material possessions is no longer working for you. And you need to make a change. And now if we, sometimes we may experience this as a sudden change on the outside. So a sudden transformation, a sudden loss or something like that regarding your second house things. So money, work, income, job, values, self-esteem. And so let's try to make those changes beforehand. Yeah. Let's utilize that Mars energy if possible. Let's see if the tarot has anything additional to say for my Aries, sun and rising. Wow, okay. So the Nine of Pentacles is really an amazing card because it's speaking to the fact that you've accomplished a lot and now is the time for you to take pleasure in what you've accomplished, to really look at her. She's enjoying her pentacle, she's enjoying nature. She's got the bird and she's just hanging out. And this is very much like self-care energy. It also feels like this is like a very much talking to the independence of Mars. Because when this card comes through, it's like you've built something, or there's a desire to work towards financial independence. And so maybe you've already done that and you've created abundance, and this is a time in which maybe there are values changing around what happens when I build abundance. Maybe you've held on tightly before to that abundance, and now this is saying, enjoy it, splurge. Like, you've worked hard for this, and that's something that's transforming. Maybe you're seeing that the way that you've experienced financial independence or financial abundance is changing. Maybe you've never even thought that was something that's possible, and yet there's been something in the back of your mind that's been saying, like, you've been doing the tried and true method, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. Like working a 9-to-5, working for somebody else, totally. Like, some people really need that, and it's great. But maybe there's an inkling in the back of your mind, being an Aries sun rising, that you want to have more independence in this part of your life, and maybe you're starting to think that this is possible. And maybe something's going to happen around this conjunction that is going to make you have to move towards that in a way. So why not just start now? What is one step that you can take towards having financial abundance? or financial independence in your life, into this more free, liberated and innovative way of making money so that you can feel like her. So it's either like you already feel like her, or we're working towards feeling like this, and you're seeing that it's actually possible. The 9 feels very independent to me. So it feels like it's financial independence. Yeah. All right, Aries, let me know how that resonates for you guys down below, and make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, so for my Taurus, Sun, and Rising, this is happening in your first house. So your first house of your outlook, your attitude in life, your body, your identity, your approach to life, yourself, your sense of self. So a lot of changes have been going on in that, you know, like it's really, there's a lot of energy on you and what's changing with you. And so when it comes to Mars-Uranus, it's like there's something that you've been working towards in your sense of self, in your body, in the way that you show up in the world, so your appearance and how your attitude is regarding the world. There's been a lot of changes in that recently, a lot of shakeups. And Mars-Uranus is like giving you a kick in the butt to really move towards this thing that you've been trying to cultivate, the changes that have been instigating. And as a Taurus, like I said, especially if you have anything between like 24 to 28 degrees Taurus, this is impacting you quite strongly. And so, like I said, this may, for a lot of those people, happen outside of them as a sudden event, but we can still work towards moving in that direction of change and using this energy constructively so it doesn't come up as strong when the transit actually perfects. So what is the thing that you need to cut out of your being? Like, what is that last thing that is feeling like it's no longer aligned, but you're still moving in that way? You're still acting in that way. You're still seeing the world in that way, but you know that things have changed, but you're just not changing this last thing. You know, Taurus likes to feel stable. It likes the inherent stability of this. And because there's a moon in Scorpio, this is definitely something having to do, at the time of this conjunction, this is definitely something having to do with your relationships. And so maybe a realization comes through about your relationships and how they've changed you. And even though they've changed you, maybe you're still not acting on that change. And so this is kind of something that's wanting to push you towards that. It also could be, you know, how you show up in relationships that is changing for you. Okay, let's see if the tarot has anything more to say about this for Taurus, Sun, and Rising. Okay, so I've got the 5 of Cups here. The 5 of Cups, Okay, so now I'm seeing that there's a tendency for you, possibly, to be the 5 of Cups, to look at what's been spilled, what's been lost, without seeing what is right there behind you that is upright. If you resonate with this, this is an outlook of yours that tends to creep up. Maybe when you're feeling low, maybe when you're not feeling your best, this is a tendency that tends to creep up, that you naturally look at the more pessimistic feelings of difficulty, of loss, of betrayal, and feeling like that's your natural inclination to go to when you're not feeling great. And so I feel like all of this energy in your first house, and now with Mars-Uranus, is like trying to give this breakthrough of like changing so that your natural predisposition isn't to look at what's been gone, but what's to come. Because see, this is kind of like not really how Taurus energy generally works. Like I said in the beginning of the video, it's very much like Taurus is like, the energy of Taurus very much gives like, I want stability, but then I want change, but I want that change to automatically be stable. And so, like I said in the beginning, like that's not really possible. Like we need that destruction, chaos, intermediary in order for us to really get to where we're achieving that new stability in. And in order for that stability to not be rooted in the past and to be rooted in a place of growth and evolution, which happens in the chaos. And so maybe this is a tendency for you to rather look on what you know that maybe even isn't good. Like you're not even happy with it and you're like, oh, this sucks, but like this is the direction I'm headed in still. This is where I'm going. But like if you turned around and you saw these cups, maybe you would see that like there is possibility. There is excitement in the unknown. And like we don't have to jump into the new thing right away, but we can steadily, Mars and Taurus, work towards change. And yeah, I think that this is something that's really, oh wow, that's so crazy. Like I felt that this is actually coming up really strongly, and I feel really excited because I feel like this is such an integral change for Tauruses. Like I said, because of your natural tendency to just keep on looking, even though you go in that direction. And yet now you guys are starting to see that maybe there is excitement in the unknown. Yeah, I love that for you guys. All right, let me know how that resonates down below. Like and subscribe if you like this video, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, so for my Gemini sun and rising, we have Mars-Uranus conjuncting in your 12th house. Now, actually, I really love this. The 12th house is one of the Dashtana houses in Vedic astrology, which means it's a house that is considered more malefic. But when we have malefics in malefic houses, it actually really urges us to change things. It actually is a great thing to have because it creates a desire for us to change. Whereas generally in the 12th house, there can be, we talk about 12th house being your subconscious thoughts, your self-limiting beliefs, things that are hidden from us, spirituality, solitude, endings, healing, closure, karma, overseas travel, yes, places that are, isolated, like hospitals and prisons, mental institutions, all these things. And so, but when we have Mars-Uranus joining there and this more malefic influence of Mars and Algol, there is a drive, there is a push for us to change. Like, it is a revolution that's been wanting to take place in your 12th house since 2018 when Uranus moved in there, right? And we've talked about this area a lot since April because of all of these personal planets moving through Taurus. Now we have finally Mars, going through this point. And the Mars gives us like a kick in the butt to change something, to liberate ourselves, to have this sense of freedom and authenticity and individuality, this urge for freedom within our subconscious. So this is like us being like tired of the wiring that has been happening in our subconscious. We are tired. We are making changes. We are moving towards something else. We are so sick of the old ways. Like this is coming from deep within your psyche, deep within your subconscious, this urge to change everything. To change because the subconscious is the filter in which 95% of our life happens, or that we see it through, right? Like a lot of people, like the first house is very much your attitude in life, but the 12th, and it's very important in your outlook, but what the 12th house represents is all of that stuff that's hidden that generally we tend to overlook. And that's why it comes before the first house, because this needs to come to the forefront so that the new you, the new beginning in the first house can be based off of you can have more information to go off of. You've integrated the hidden things. So, this feels amazing for Gemini. I'm really excited to see how now, if you have planets around 24 to 28 degrees of Taurus, then you may experience this as more dramatic and more chaotic. And the moon is sitting in our 6th house during this transit as well, during this conjunction. So it's really looking to your health So like maybe there has been health issues. Maybe there are work issues. The sixth house is work environment. So like maybe there's health and work issues that are now kind of pushing you into being like, I can't do this anymore. We need to change something. The way that we keep falling into the same work environments, we keep falling into the same health issues. And this is something that now is being rewired from your subconscious so that you can stop this pattern, right? Rather than just like you're nipping something in the bud. Ooh, I'm just so excited for you guys. Okay, let me see if the tarot has anything in particular that it wants to say to my Gemini sun and rising and moon, okay? I won't leave you guys out if you guys are here watching for your moon sign. Ace of Wands. This is like the beginning of a creative urge. Okay, so I was talking about how algol is, in the beginning of the video, I was saying how it's very prominent in a lot of artists that are able to bring creativity out of the chaos in their lives, because it, like I said, it's naturally a more chaotic, transformative energy, intense. So a lot of people who have this prominent naturally, you know, depending on what is there in 26 degrees Taurus, have that chaos, that intensity going on in their lives, and they are able to create something from it. There is a sense of creativity and from the liberation and from the chaos. So this to me feels like during this transit, you guys may be having a lot of ideas about how you want to live an inspired life, live a creative life, or just the aces are really just new things. And because this is wand, it's like a new idea, a new desire to take action. This is Mars, right? In a new inspired way that's more aligned with you. So this really, to me, feels like it could be like a sudden thought, a sudden breakthrough that you have around this transit that kind of pushes you out of old patterns. Yeah. I love this for you guys. Let me know how that resonates down below. Like and subscribe if you like this video, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, so we have, what do we have? Cancers. Cancers, sun and rising, maybe some moons. This conjunction is happening in your 11th house. Now, we've been talking about this house quite a bit over the past few months because we've had so many transits going through this. And the 11th house for you guys, this is around group consciousness. This is your groups that you're a part of, your friend groups, any humanitarianism that you're a part of, technology. And this is also a house for your hopes and wishes for the future. And so there is a lot of changes that's happening here. And this is actually a really beautiful house to have support in, but you guys have had Uranus in here since 2018. So there's just a lot of shakeups happening in this part of your chart. And what Mars is trying to do is push you towards something that you have been wanting to change in this area of your life. Like you want to cut something out. This is such a great energy for cutting something out, from freeing yourself from something that you have felt in your 11th house. And maybe for you, it's like the 11th house is, like I said, is the future. And so maybe there is a new sense of a future that you're wanting to build, but you're feeling held down by your patterns, or, you know, something that feels stable to you. You're afraid to put yourself out there. You're afraid to be in those social networks that you want to be in. You're afraid to, be in have the friends in your life that you want to have, the people who support you, because inherently the 11th house is a support house. Like it's people who support you on to getting where you want to go. And so you guys have had a lot of work to do in that part of your chart. It also rules like the internet and technology. And so what kind of initiative do you need to take in that part of your life? What kind of action do you need to take? This is asking you to change something. This is asking you to express yourself, your individuality, because the 11th house, like I said, it's a house of group consciousness. But when you've got Mars, Uranus, algol, in there coming together, there's this like desire to be like, yes, I can still be myself even if I'm in a group of people. How can I make that happen? How can I mark my individuality, meanwhile helping others in a group setting, or being one with them, but also not losing myself in that? And so, how can you, before this transit comes to completion, how can you make movements towards that? What are the changes that you've been wanting to make that you haven't made? This could also, on a mundane level, be just like fighting within friendships because you've got Mars there. So just being aware of that, because around this time, July 15th, there are some other relationship transits that are happening that could really bring things out and have to confront a lot of things. So for you guys, it may be happening within organizations that you want to be a part of, or you are a part of, or within your friends groups. So let's see if the tarot has anything else for you guys for my Cancer Sun rising. How interesting. The Ace of Swords. This can also be like a new idea, but for me, this is a new way of thinking. The 11th house is an air house. And so this could be, getting a lot of things. Hold on. This could be a new idea that you're having regarding communication. So a new way of communicating. That's one thing that I'm getting, that maybe there is within your friend groups, or, any groups that you're a part of, any networks that you're a part of, there is a new idea for communicating in a different way. Writing introducing a new form of communication. Like it could be like now you're introducing writing into an aspect of that part of your life. What this also tells me though is that there's a new way of thinking about things that needs to happen. Maybe all of this stuff that we're talking about is really rooted in your thoughts, like the desire to change something. Even though this isn't a fixed earth sign, maybe right now what you guys are experiencing is something that needs to change within your thoughts. And maybe you'll have a sudden breakthrough of that. I love this energy because Gemini got also an ace, but I love how it's coming out of the clouds. And that's kind of what the ace is. It comes out of nowhere, which is so in tune with the energy of Mars-Uranus, because it's an algal, it's sudden, it's a breakthrough, it's all of a sudden something happens. I love this because it feels like there's a mental breakthrough for you guys during this transit. Yeah. Let me know how that resonates for you guys, and like and subscribe if you like this, and I'll see you guys next time. All right. So for my Leo sun and rising, this is happening in your 10th house. We've been talking about your 10th house a lot, and Uranus has been in here since 2018 trying to change things up in your 10th house. And sorry, I was just thinking about something. And, having Taurus in your 10th house, and especially if you have Taurus midheaven as well in your 10th, then it makes us very stubborn regarding our direction in life, our career, our reputation. We don't like to take a lot of risks generally, because everything I said in the beginning of the video about Taurus applies to us in our 10th house, right? In our career, in our life direction, our public status. It's that like we want to go from a sense of stability into another sense of stability. And we want to just like skip that middle part in which all the transformation and growth and evolution happens. And so we tend to move very slowly. And on the flip side of this is like we're the builders, right? Like when it comes to our career and our public status, we build slowly over time. And so we make sure that the things are sustainable. The things that we build are sustainable. And so there's beauty in that. And yet Uranus is like, hello, like, stop it, shake it up. Like that's literally how I see is like Uranus coming through, because it's like jolts of electricity in this part of our chart, and just like trying to break up this fixed earth, this like packed in dirt. It's like, it's like an earthquake actually. And so, this house it could also have something to do with authority figure or bosses. So something could be changing within your career, where you work with that. But I don't know. I feel like it's definitely more having to do with you. and how there are changes that you want to make, but you're scared to make, which totally makes sense. Like I said, because of everything I just said, you're scared to make these changes. Okay. You're feeling burdened. You're feeling, oh my God, you're feeling so burdened. Whoa, that was crazy. Yeah, you're feeling really burdened. You're taking on a lot. You're taking on a lot. Wow. If that resonates for you guys, I'm really, really sorry. I just felt a sense of heaviness come over me. Okay, Leo, listen, you've got to, if you're resonating with that, you have to get rid of some of this burden. Like if you're feeling like you're just doing a lot and there's a lot on your plate and you're just tired and you're overworked, you need to figure out ways to lessen that burden. Because I mean, you're almost there. This is the 10, right? So it's like you're almost there. Like just push through a little bit. And maybe that's what's keeping you from changing, is because you're overburdening yourself with things that you don't even need to. Leos, this is the thing with Leos. We just tend to take on other people's stuff really easily and try to fix it and take care of it. And it's out of this like desire to be loved and appreciated, right? But what's happening right now is that it's keeping you from making the changes that are necessary in your career. So what can you let go of? Anything that you don't feel like is necessary to do right now, let that go, because what's actually more important, the most important, is your legacy. It's your career, your goals, your public image, your reputation. That's the forefront right now. That's what Mars-Uranus wants you to focus on. So if anything is like, you're working on like little projects around the house or whatever, maybe just like set them aside and say, hey, we'll get back to this. Anything that's not urgent, we'll get back to this in a week or so. Right now, let's really put the energy towards the 10th house stuff. That's what it's feeling like for you. So I really was going to pull another card, but I feel like this, I got an urge to pull the bottom of the deck because I saw it in the camera. And I feel like it's because I really needed to tell you guys that there's something holding you back, but you're almost like, it feels like it's responsibilities, and that very well may be true, but you don't have to carry it all right now. And if you can lower that load, it'll free up more energy for you to put towards changing the 10th house stuff, so that when Mars-Uranus comes on July 15th, it doesn't need to change something from the outside as much. It doesn't need to shake things up as much, because you're already making that movement. And so the universe is like, cool, you got this. Like you're moving towards that, All right, let me know how that resonates for you guys down below, and like and subscribe if you like this video. I'll see you guys next time. All right, so for Virgo, Sun and Rising, this is happening in your 9th house. So we've been talking about this house quite a bit. You've had a lot of transits happening there. And so what Mars-Uranus comes through and kind of pushes us to do is to take action, because the 9th house is really a house of like your belief systems. It's your philosophy in life. It is long distance travel. It's higher education, law, religion, expanding your horizons through either newness in some way. So travel, or just pushing yourself to see beyond right in front of you and seeing the horizon. So there's been a lot of changes in that part of your life. Maybe there's a new belief system, but you naturally have a fixed earth sign ruling this part of your chart. So you're prone to really take your time in changing these belief systems. It takes a long time for those things to actually really change in you. And when Mars comes here with Uranus, there's a desire to express this new found belief about life, your new philosophy. There's this urge for creating or living a philosophy that is more rooted in freedom and is more dynamic. And so Mars can give you really a push and, kick in the butt to move towards being like, I keep feeling like there's this disconnect between Virgos. They're changing belief systems, they're changing belief structures, and how they actually are presenting. And to me, a lot has to do because Virgo is Mercury ruled. And so to me, it feels like what happens is they get a lot of anxiety. Virgos get a lot of anxiety or overthink the changes. And so, but there's so much positive changes that have happened in your belief systems, in your philosophy, in your desire to travel, in your desire to learn and to be more educated in life. There's such positivity bursting through, and then you like overthink it. So Mars and Uranus is like wanting you to get out of the mind and into the body about this, right? So taking action, moving towards something. And, it may end up being that the way that it presents itself, it kind of forces you to change because something around this time comes from the outside and it kind of pushes you and makes you have to change. And that may feel more uncomfortable because you are a fellow earth sign. Even though you are mutable earth, you don't generally like to be pushed into change like that. So we can start moving towards that in a way that is more controlled so we feel safe. But I think the biggest thing I'm feeling for you guys is to get out of your thoughts. Even though the 9th house has to do with beliefs, it's opposite the 3rd house. So it feels like you need to just stop thinking about it. And you just need to do something. You need to initiate something. That's how I'm feeling for you guys. Okay, let me see if the tarot has anything else for you guys for my Virgo sun and rising. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you kidding me, tarot gods? I don't know. This is literally the card that I would have picked. Maybe there's another card. But the swords is our thoughts. And it's being bound and feeling like there's no way out. And yet all of that is in your mind. This is literally the card of like your thinking is imprisoning you. Your thinking is your prison. You are in a cage of your thoughts. And the door is open because, she's not completely bound to the swords. She just thinks she is. And so she's stuck there. There's a feeling of stuckness. Like you're stuck in a situation. You can't get out. But like, this is what I'm saying. I feel like your new belief systems that you've built are so much more positive and spiritual. And yet your thoughts and your mind is keeping you trapped. And so like you may have this feeling of like, no, life is amazing and I want to explore and I want to be inspirational. I want positivity. But then your thoughts are like overthinking things. And then, well, I'm stuck in this situation and there's no way out. And then there's like this battle. And I think it's really time for you to let your positivity and your new belief systems win over this. Woo, that was crazy. All right, let me know how that resonates for you guys. Like and subscribe if you like this video, and I will see you guys next time, Virgos. All right, so for my Libra sun and risings, this conjunction is happening in your 8th house. Now, I actually really love this, okay, for you guys, because now I want to say, there's so much information coming through. I want to say that inherently, I feel like Libras are going through stuff. You just had Black Moon Lilith go into Libra. South Node is still in Libra. I feel like there's a lot of relationship stuff happening for you guys, especially coming up to the weekend before this Mars-Uranus conjunction. But in general, I just feel like there's just been a lot of stuff going on in your relationships. There's been a lot of intensity with your partner, a lot of changes for your partner. Their lives are usually changing quite a bit when we have North Node in the 1st house, or I'm sorry, in the 7th house. But I love this transit for you guys because the 8th house is a Dhisthana house in Vedic astrology, which means that it's a malefic house. But when we have a malefic planet in a malefic planet in a malefic house, interesting. Just caught sight of the bottom of the deck. When we have that, it means that we are willing to fight for change. It pushes us into understanding that something's got to change. So what does the 8th house represent? The 8th house is merging emotionally. It's intimacy. It's shared finances, inheritances, taxes, loans, properties that are joint. So joint properties, it's your psyche. It's regarding your partner's resources. And so what's happening is that maybe, like I said, because the weekend before you got Venus opposition Pluto and you've got the moon in Libra. So you guys may be having some conflict in your life for sure leading up to this within your relationships. Yeah, it could happen within any relationships, but for you guys, I feel like it's definitely happening. The conflict is most likely happening within your partnerships. So like, you know, business partner, sport partner that you play sports with, romantic partner, so things like that. But what I think that all of this has been doing, this fighting, or like what this fighting serves to do, is there is a liberation that needs to happen in your 8th house. Like you are so fixed in a way of relating to the other on a deep level, because the 8th, like I said, is a merging. It's a water house, and it's a merging of you and another, and this deep intimacy that comes with that. And so I feel like there is a push to change something there deep within your psyche that has needed to happen for a really long time, but because you naturally have fixed earth ruling that house, you've just been resisting. And oh man, I hope that this is a breakthrough for you guys. I hope that you guys have a breakthrough moment during this transit of Jupiter or Mars-Uranus that makes you recognize that like something has to change. This is no longer working for me. My relations, the way I deeply intimately relate to another person, is based off of outdated patterns, and I'm wanting to change them, and I'm willing to put in the work. That's the thing that happens when Mars comes in here. It's like, you know, we've had Uranus here since 2018, and then Jupiter hit it, and then you know, we've had Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, but now we've got Mars, and Mars is an initiating factor. It's like it pushes you to change something in this house. And I think that it's necessary for you guys, because there is so much freedom in the way that you can interact with somebody. And I feel like there's a loosening of the bonds that needs to happen, and yet that's not a negative thing. It doesn't mean that you have to lose the relationship. It means that like the way in which you relate to the other person has been so deeply chained. It's almost, I keep seeing this image of like being wrapped in rope. Like it's like, oh no. And it's like, there's this like desire to break free from the old ways of relating. Let me see if I already got a tarot card for you guys, but let me see if there is anything else for Libra, Sun, and Rising that we want to bring up to them. Yeah, see, okay, and now you have the Magician. Like, are you kidding me? You have so much power right now in the ability to create the life that you want within, whether that's, you know, your 8th house things, like I said, because that's where this is happening. But the Magician is ultimate power within it's alchemy. You have the ability to completely reconstruct things into a way that feel good to you right now. You have so much power at your disposal. Like, I just felt myself the entire time for you guys reading wanting to be like up here. Like, you know, just being like, oh my God, I need to express this to you guys. You guys have so much power right now to create something in your life, in this area of your life. So yeah, move towards that. Move towards that before this happens, before this is exact. All right, Libras, let me know how that resonates down below. Like and subscribe if you like this video. I'll see you guys next time. All right, so for my Scorpio Sun and Rising, Mars and Uranus in your 7th house. Okay, you guys have had quite the experience in your relationships lately, and really since Uranus entered your 7th house in 2018. It's been wanting to change things up, bring more freedom, bring more authenticity into your relationships. And the past few months have really been big about that, because we've had all of these planets activating Uranus and Taurus, and then the new Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that started in April for a 14-year cycle. We've talked about that a lot. So I'm not going to get super into it, but what Mars does is it creates an initiative. It wants action. It wants to feel independent. It's invigorating. It wants to cut things out that no longer work. And so you may be experiencing your partner going through this. You may be seeing them be very Mars-Uranus, that they're like, this is no longer working, or I need more freedom. This is how we're going to do things. I need to live life this way. And because it's in your 7th house, you're experiencing it through your partners. Now, this can be your intimate partner, your romantic partner. It can be your business partner. It can be anyone that you partner with in any sort of capacity. So, you can kind of open that up to much more than just romance and business. Anyone that you have a contract with in some way. And it's just generally, this is your house of the other. So how you interact with the other in the world. Now, just because it's happening in your 7th house doesn't mean it's not affecting you, right? And during this transit, you've got Moon in your 1st house, Moon in Scorpio, which is ruled by Mars. So you're very much feeling the emotional process of this change. So meanwhile, maybe this other person is going through this Mars-Uranus and kind of showing up in that way in your life, where they're like having these sudden breakthroughs and they're having this pressure to express their individuality and this urge for freedom, or to cut something out of their lives and do things in a new way, this liberation. You are also feeling that on an emotional level. So I feel like this is going to be a very emotional experience for Scorpios, seeing this change happen. And if your partner or someone doesn't initiate this from outside, then I feel like it is definitely going to come as an event that is going to be changing the way that you view relationships. Something, in some way, it's got to change. So either it comes through a partner or it comes through a sudden outside event that happens. And so how can you move towards this in a way, like I said in the beginning of the video, that could be productive and constructive? Well, what's your relationship like? How do you relate to other people? Can there be more freedom in that? Maybe you're already making these changes, and so this is going to be a lot easier for you. Scorpios have a tendency to be the ones who go through the death and rebirth process more often. So stability is not something that is inherent to the nature of Scorpio. Even though it's a fixed sign, it likes stability, but also you just find that whenever there is too much stability in your life in general, there is something that needs to kind of be that needs to die in order to be rebirthed. That's kind of a constant thing, especially for Scorpio risings. So you're not immune to this, but I also feel like maybe you can work with the energies more. I just feel like you guys might be a little bit more emotional during this time. Let me see if there's anything else that the tarot wants to say that I'm not getting right now for Scorpio, Sun, and Rising. Okay, well, I just dropped like 20 cards, but I didn't see any of them, so... But I may have put them in backwards, so I might get some reverse. I don't know. The 6 of Swords. Why do I feel like I got this card for you guys in my last reading? I don't know. I definitely got it in my last reading, but maybe it wasn't for you guys. But everything I was just saying about chaos and whatever, it almost feels like you guys already went through this. Like the chaos and the destruction and the rebirth and the urge for freedom and the breakthroughs and changes in your relationships. Feels like that stuff has already kind of happened, and actually you're moving towards more stability in that part of your chart. I feel like maybe there's just like one last thing that needs to happen, but for the most part, it feels like the chaos is kind of behind you guys and you're moving towards more stability in your life within your relationships. So I love that. Great. All right, so let me know how that resonates, and like and subscribe if you like this video. I'll see you guys next time, Scorpios. All right, so for my Sagittarius, Sun, and Rising, this conjunction is happening in your 6th house. So the 6th house is about your health, fitness, diet, your sense of service given to others. And it's your work environment as well. So we've been talking about this house a lot because we have had a lot of activations, of the Uranus in Taurus in your sixth house, which has been there since 2018. In the last few months, we've had a lot of those, that part of our chart being activated. So there is very much a sense of wanting to, I want to say, I actually really love this transit for you guys because the sixth house is a Dashtana house in Vedic astrology, which means that it's a more malefic house. It's a more difficult house naturally. But when we have a more malefic, planet in a more malefic house, it actually is great. So because it gives us this push to want to change. It gives us the kick in the butt that we need to like make the changes that we need. Now, we may feel that pressure and not act on it. And I would not recommend that. I would recommend to act on it because when we see Mars-Uranus algol, like I said in the beginning of the video, come together, there is a sense that something outside of us could kind of force our hand. But I feel like if we move slowly towards that, we're not going to experience it as dramatically or as intensely. Why not just methodically work towards that change ourselves and initiate a little bit of it ourselves, which is what Mars wants. This urge for freedom, these breakthroughs, these a building pressure to express our individuality and our will in the world. And the sixth house is everything I said, but it's also a house of hard work. It's a house of sacrifice. And so when we have planets transiting the sixth house, we can feel overwhelmed. There can be a lot of hard work to do in order to overcome things. The sixth house is also like a sense of conflict with others in our day-to-day. Some say it's like our enemies. It deals a lot with, like I said, the more difficult things in life. And so when we have these long transits there, it just kind of feels like, oh my God, like when is this over? As someone who just had a 15-year transit in their sixth house and has dealt with a lot of health issues throughout that process, I very much understand. But what I always say about the sixth house is that it's the last house of individuation before you go into the seventh house. So it's not just about a sense of service and usefulness. It's not just about hard work. It's not just about your health. It's also really trying to shape the boundaries of you before you go into the seventh house of the other. And so I think it's really important. I love the 6th and the 12th house are like my favorite houses to dissect because I think that they are underutilized. If we just look at the 6th house as a place where our work is, it may be true, the work environments. So, your work environments may have been very up and down for the last several years. But so could your health, and so could your sense of usefulness and desire to give service. And also your sense of like who you are before you enter a relationship with another person. It's like the fine tuning of the inside world and the outside world, so that when we move into the seventh house of the other, which you guys have Jupiter in there right now, so lots of opportunities to meet people. So when we're meeting people, we're meeting them from a place of wholeness. But I think that this Mars-Uranus algol conjunction is really going to give you guys this push to work towards being someone who gives service to others. Work towards having a work environment that feels good to you. Fighting for something that is meaningful to you. Fighting for something that matters. And a desire to break through any binding chains that have been holding us back in those areas of our life. It's a desire to just cut through all of that. And if not, you may experience this, like I said, regardless, you may experience this as something changing in your workplace suddenly, something changing in your health suddenly, something happening suddenly outside of us in that makes us have to make this change, forces our hand. Let's see if the tarot has any additional messages for my Sagittarius sun and rising for this Mars-Uranus conjunction. Wow, that's quite the card to get. I feel like this is very much, whenever I pull this card, the 10 of Pentacles, I very much feel like, even though it's a Pentacles card and it's talking about abundance in the finances, in the material realm, very much could be a theme for you. But what I'm feeling is that when you, like I said, when you have a 6th house transit, and especially like, even though Mars is, you know, pushing you to change something, it can feel tiresome. Like you're just like done with everything. Like, I'm so tired of having to deal with this stuff. And yet, how can we cultivate a sense of abundance within ourselves? I just need a drink of my coffee before I say this. How can we cultivate a sense of abundance within ourselves? I've said this before, whenever this card comes up, and I've talked about it in other videos that I just have about money in general. There's this feeling of abundance is money, it's financial. And yet we see people who have tons of money and they're depressed and they hate their lives and they don't want to live anymore. And they have all these issues and they're addicted to all these substances. So we know that that's not true. We can have abundance without money. We can have abundance without the job that is perfect. We can have abundance if our health is not perfect. We can cultivate and have a feeling of abundance. And I will tell you, it is not I didn't make the rules, okay? But the rules of the universe follow like this. When we can cultivate gratitude and abundance, we attract gratitude and abundance. This doesn't mean that overnight your whole life it just becomes exactly what you want it to be. There's a sense of surrender that needs to happen in that process of letting things happen as they will, let the chips, fall as they will. And also, regardless of that, having a sense of abundance, making it an internal process rather than focusing on the external abundance that could still come. Like, you very much could have the external abundance, a lot of money, great health, all these things. Like, yes, obviously we want those things, but it's not that we're waiting on those things. We're not dependent on those things to feel abundant. Okay? Let me know how that resonates for you guys. And let me know in the comments down below how that resonates. And like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. All right, so for my Capricorn sun and rising, this transit is happening in your 5th house. So the 5th house is a house of romance, love, entertainment, play, creativity, self-expression, and drama. So you may be feeling very much, because this is Mars, wanting to express yourself more in your romantic life, wanting to express yourself more in a playful way. Maybe there is a pattern in your love affairs that you are wanting to move out of and you've been feeling yet kind of stuck. And we've had all this energy moving through Taurus wanting to change these things. But I feel like, you guys are cardinal Earth, but still an Earth sign that tends to move very slowly. And so I love this about you guys, actually. Like, my partner's a Capricorn, stellium, Sun, Moon, Jupiter, Neptune. And when I look at the time we've been together for a very long time and I see the way that he moves, it's so different from me. I'm a Gemini sun, Sag moon, Leo rising. And so it's so different from the way that I move towards things in my life. Like, it's just this like steady climb, and that's very similar to Taurus energy, that fixed earth that like just keep pushing. Although the difference is that you guys are more likely to welcome change in your life because of that cardinal energy. But it's just like always working towards that goal. And even if there's change, it's like, yeah, but always working towards that goal still. It's very, very interesting to watch. But when you have Mars and Uranus coming through, there is a urge for freedom. So within your love nature, there is an urge to create more freedom. And if you don't invite this into your life, then something may happen around you that may kind of force the hand. So that could be like a romantic partner or someone you're dating or your children or something pushing you to change out of your comfort zone and to bring more of your own unique self into the romance, into your relationship with your children. This is a very creative house too. So it's like finding liberation and freedom within how you love others, but in how you play, how you enjoy life. This is the house of pleasure. And maybe, like I said, like, you know, having Taurus on this part of your chart naturally makes you prone to kind of wanting to play it safe and maintain stability at all costs, even if you're in a situation that's not fun for you, you're not enjoying it. And it's like, okay, well, you know, it's known, it's familiar, so we're going to stay here. That's kind of the approach you take when it comes to your creative and love affairs. And Uranus has been like trying to shake that up for about 6 years now. And now Mars is giving you this like kick in the butt to change something, to actually like move towards being more individual, expressing your individuality and your willpower within these fifth house matters. I want to see if there's anything that the tarot wants to tell my Capricorn sun and risings that maybe we're not getting here. Anything additional? So I got the feeling to pull 2 cards, and I just actually got this for Sagittarius. So that's very interesting that I got it for you guys as well. It tells me that there's something to do with feeling abundant right now. And then we've got the Ace of Pentacles, which is like really interesting because I got, this is the 3rd ace I've gotten during these readings. I got aces for Taurus, I believe, and Gemini, I believe. And it's so amazing to get all these aces because the aces are always coming out of clouds. They're coming out of thin air. This is very indicative of the Uranus energy, this Mars-Uranus energy of just suddenness, something coming out of nowhere, sudden breakthroughs, sudden cutting, sudden losing our cool, sudden, you know, like reversals, transformations, is very much giving the same energy. And so what it feels like for you guys is, because I haven't had any repeats of the aces, which is really interesting. For you guys, it's in your career, it's in your money, it's in your finances. So how does this play into what we are trying to cultivate in our 5th house? I feel like number one, I always say this when I get the Ace of Pentacles, is that there is a some sort of money coming to you. Now, it could be a job offer, it could be it could be a new idea about making money in a new way. That could definitely be a thing. But I'm feeling like there is something to do with your career, your finance, your money, and the way that you experience love. The South Node is in your 10th house, right? And it has been in there since 2022. And Black Moon Lilith just joined it. And the weekend before this conjunction, you guys there's a moon in Libra when we've got some intense stuff happening within relationships. Here's what I'm feeling for you guys. And this is like purely coming out of, I don't know where it's coming from. I'm feeling like there's a rigidity in your career or a stagnation in your career. And this is feeling like that is very closely tied to all this stuff we're talking about, these changes that want to be made in your love, romance, pleasure, creativity, self-expression, joy. So a couple things can happen with this, like sudden breakthrough about money, sudden breakthrough about the importance of money or the importance of career could come, or the lack thereof. Like maybe you have been putting so much energy towards money and finances in order to feel abundant. And then the 5th house stuff, I just got chills. The 5th house stuff says, no. How we feel abundant is through the love in our life. It's through how much pleasure we have in our lives. It's how we have fun. It's how we have entertainment and we play and we have this childlike spirit. Like that's where our abundance comes from. And what's interesting is when you start channeling that more, it feels like this is more likely to come. A new way of making money, a new way of understanding. It's got chills again. When you have the South Node in your 10th house, there is a feeling like we're not getting satisfaction from that part of our chart. So we're not getting satisfaction from the 10th house part of our chart right now, really, which is really odd for Capricorn because you spent most of your life like achieving and feeling fulfilled through your achievements. And yet the South Node being there is like, I'm not really feeling that anymore. And obviously the North Node is in your house, in your home, in your 4th house. And we're not really talking about that aspect right now. But what I am seeing is that joy and romance and love and fun is the way to create a fulfilling life for yourself right now in this moment during this transit. And there's a push towards that. And I think that when you do that, I think you'll have a new way of making money that will be more fulfilling for you. Or new thoughts about making money. Yeah, so interesting. I went from total confusion to like getting chills and just feeling very aligned with that. So let me know how that resonates for you guys down below, okay? And please like and subscribe if you like this video. I'll see you guys next time. All right, so for my Aquarius, Sun and Rising, this is happening in your 4th house. Let's see what that means. Now, Mars-Uranus, as we talked about, it's this feeling of like sudden breakthroughs, this urge for freedom, liberation, action-oriented, taking initiative. And now something also may happen outside of us to make change happen if we are not moving towards it ourselves. The 4th house is your home. It's your family life. It's the deepest part of your chart. So it's like these deep emotional foundations that you've built. You know, a lot of it stems from childhood, but we have ability to change those as we get older, right? So there's been a lot of emphasis on that for you the past few months, is making sure that these emotional foundations that we've built are in alignment with who we are now rather than, you know, when they were made. So from past experiences. So a lot of shakeups in your home life, a lot of shakeups in your deep emotions. And that's why like I feel like we've been having a lot of I've been getting a lot of more heaviness for you guys. You know, there's been a sort of retreat for you guys emotionally and internally. And I really do believe you guys are going to be coming out of that. However, you know, and with Jupiter and Gemini, that's kind of been helping you guys come out of your bubble since the end of May there. But this to me feels like there is something else that needs to be changed. There's something else you want to change because this part of your chart is ruled by fixed earth. So you tend to make very slow changes in this part of your chart, which is not bad. It's just that sometimes there needs to be a little bit of a push from like Mars to help us make the changes. And often if we don't make the changes, something externally could happen to force our hand. So something with our home situation could change out of our control. But what we can do in order to make this a more constructive and productive transit is, how can we move towards that change? How can I make small changes before this conjunction really happens to move towards that, so that the gap doesn't have to be as big for Mars-Uranus to kind of shake things up for me, because I'm taking the initiative already to work towards that. And so in what parts of your deep emotional foundations are you feeling restricted? Are you feeling like it's not in alignment and you need to break free and you want this change and you're ready to move towards that? You don't have to jump from point A to Z. You can just go from A to B. For a lot of you guys, honestly, I feel like a lot of Aquariuses want to move. Like, I feel like you want to go somewhere else because there's this feeling when Uranus is in the 4th house, and it's been there since 2018, of like shaking things up in our home life. And I feel like you guys maybe you guys have been moving a lot, but I also feel like there's some sort of urge to move. That's why I'm getting really strongly for you guys. And maybe this is something, maybe you can start planning that or thinking about, where do I want to move, or how can I have this conversation, or things like that. All right, so let's get some, and you know, this may bring up some conflict. When you're bringing up desires to change the home life, and are you willing to, is it something that you're worth that you're willing to fight for. And because we've got Mars there, it sounds like it is, because Mars is something that, you know, Mars is a planet that it's a warrior with a purpose. So, I mean, on a mundane level, you could just be having some fights in the home, like, sorry, you know, but the best thing you can do in that situation is try to keep your cool, because we have Algol, this fixed star Algol here. And when Algol is in play, we can really lose our heads and we can lose our cool. And so if you can just stay grounded and stay mindful of everything that's happening around you, it'll help you a lot, even if there are conflicts, right? You don't have to get pulled into them. All right, let's see if the tarot has anything else for you guys. For my Aquarius, Sun, and Rising. The Queen of Pentacles. I'm getting a lot of pentacle energy during these readings. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's happening in Taurus. So make sure you listen to the first part of my video where I talk about why I think this happening in Taurus is different than if it was happening like in Aries or something, this transit. The Queen of Pentacles is like a nurturing figure, but it's also, because it's in Pentacles, it's like a nurturing provider. So when I see this come up, I think of a few things. One of the things I see a lot is a desire to strike a balance between the work and home life. So obviously the opposite of the 4th house is the 10th house. So maybe during this transit, you're really being called to draw a better balance between the work and home life. This also really makes me feel like this is someone who is a provider. And you may not be a provider for anyone but yourself, but what that tells me is that there is a sense of security desired and there's a sense of independence desired. And so maybe, you know, this urge to move is because there is a lack of feeling financially independent or financially secure. And so you're wanting to move into a place that will make you feel that way for whatever reason that may be. Maybe it's a place that's more affordable, or maybe it's a place where you could find a better job, or maybe it's a place that you're living off the land and so you don't need to make as much money, or it's a place where you naturally feel drawn to will be more stable for your family in some way or for yourself in some way. This is also really big about what I was saying. Like, this gives me like very much Taurus in the 4th house energy, because it's like a nurturing figure in the home. So even if there's conflict or something, you know, going on, this was on the bottom of the deck as I was thinking about your guys' energy. Even if there's conflict or something happening, how can you be, like I said, like this nurturing person and focus on creating calm and balance within the home? So if there's conflict, if there's strife, like there's just a lot of energy within the home, and this is telling me even more so. And if there's any issues with creating a balance between the home and the career life, that's something that's going to be coming to light, and you're being asked to take action on that. So let me know how this resonates for you guys, Aquarius, Sun, and Rising. And yeah, like and subscribe if you like this video. I'll see you guys next time. All right, so for my Pisces, Sun, and Rising, this conjunction is happening in your, which house? I don't even know. In your 3rd house. You know, by the end, I get real like this, which is actually perfect, because I love being like this for my Pisces people, because I feel like you guys are the most understanding, are the most compassionate, and I feel so able to be free with you guys. Like, I feel so able to just be like my goofy self. I don't know if I've said that before, but that's how I feel. So it feels like I get to Pisces and I'm like, you know, like, I don't know. It's just a feeling. And I've thought about like changing it up and doing different signs first or whatever, but for some reason it just feels fitting to have you guys last. So this is happening in your 3rd house. Now, we've been talking about this house quite a bit because we've had a lot of action in there in the past few months, starting in April. And what this Mars-Uranus energy is bringing up for you is that there is a change that is wanting to happen that maybe has been slow to change, right? Because this is Taurus energy. And maybe we've been feeling the push for a change, but not moving towards it because we're scared. And we like being predictable in the way that we think. We like predictability in the way that we communicate. And we like the predictability of our surrounding environments, right? The 3rd house is our surrounding environments. It's our neighbors, it's our siblings, it's our cousins, it's, our daily commutes and our daily errands that we run that is within a, small vicinity. So for you guys, the way that you communicate and the way that you express yourself verbally or through word or through writing tends to be very Taurian. And so it tends to be very like keeping the peace and keeping everyone happy. And that gives you a sense of stability mentally. So that's beautiful, right? And it's part of what makes you guys, you guys. And yet there is something that's asking to be changed here. And Mars coming through the third house is like, okay, but are you standing up for yourself? Are you expressing your individuality through your words and your communication, through your writing to people around you? There's a sense that there's a desire to cut through this feeling of like creating calm and peace and balance through how we speak and being a little bit more independent, fearless, taking initiative, more action oriented, more passionate. It's like, for me, it feels like this desire to exert your will through communication, not communicating in a way that is about keeping the peace. It feels like there's a part of you, and I feel like this is something about building with that Saturn in the first house. I feel like there's a part of you that in order to individuate into this new person that you're becoming, the way that you communicate, it can still be peaceful, but don't lose yourself in that. Like, don't lose your own will. Don't lose your willpower and your desire to express yourself in an individual way in order to keep the balance around you and others. And I think that you're getting more comfortable with having a little bit more of that into your communication. It's becoming more available to you to feel peace mentally while still having that level of communication. Does that make sense? Like, you're opening your ability to hold this new type of communication pattern, because before, if you would speak out on what you wanted or expressing yourself into your individuality and not keeping the peace in that moment, it would mentally fray you. It would mentally be destabilizing for you. And so that's why you didn't do it, because it's like, number one, yes, there's a sense of like not wanting to hurt other people's feelings, but really it's about like, if you hurt other people's feelings, you feel mentally unstable. And so then you don't want to speak out. But it's like, here's the thing, is like Mars can be cutting, it can be aggressive, but it doesn't have to be. It can also just be direct. It can also just be expressive and saying, hey, this is what I need. This is how I want to communicate. This is what I want to write. Rather than just focusing so hard on how are they going to receive that? What's going to keep the balance? It's like, okay, well, we can keep the balance and still express ourselves. And I feel like this is coming up very strongly for you guys. I want to tell you guys too that around this time, be careful of communications with others, because, we have Algol and Mars both indicating that we can really lose our cool and feel very frustrated and say things we don't mean, and saying some things that are really mean or something and not being mindful about what we're saying or how we're communicating. You can't take those things back, So just staying mindful about how we're doing those things, but also recognizing that there is a need, there is an urge for freedom in the way we communicate with people around us. There is an urge for freedom in the ways that we think. We want to rid ourselves of these chains, these mental chains that we've built inside of our brain that tell us that we can only have mental stability if we do this. This is revolutionary. This is breaking something new. So how can you move towards that? How can you, before Mars-Uranus brings something to you that forces you to change, how can you move towards bringing more mindful and yet your own independent will into these conversations you're having? Let's see if the tarot has anything else that it wants to add to this conversation for my Pisces. The Page of Wands. So this to me is a very inspirational energy, and the Wands is fire. So it kind of goes back to what I was just saying about how I feel like there is a sense of wanting to express yourself in a more open and individual way that is more free, that encourages more freedom in the way that you communicate. That's feeling so big for you guys. And this is like inspirational. This is someone who's is kind of feeling restless, like they're ready to start something new, to discover things and to explore things. And this may be actual exploration, so like going on a trip somewhere, or day trip. This is a third house, so it could very much be like you're feeling restless and you want to go on like day trips and discover the world that's kind of right around you. Or it could be through learning, wanting to learn something. There's just like a feeling of like wanting to change something right now. This could also sometimes feel to me that some of you guys may be being called towards a spiritual journey or a spiritual path. And it may be the very beginning of that for you, like a desire. The page is like very much just this curiosity that's piqued around spirituality. So yeah, I just feel like this is very inspirational, lots of creative ideas. The Wands are very creative, but it's also expressing yourself, this urge to express yourself in the way that you want. All right, so let me know how that resonates for you guys. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.